Ladies and gentlemen, before we start tonight's edition of What the Show, I do have to let you know that we are currently sponsored by HelloFresh. Yes, HelloFresh, the meal delivery service is going to send you farm to table fresh ingredients direct to your door, sometimes up to a day and a half late with room temperature and chicken. Yes, that's promo code What the Show 30 for room temperature chicken direct to your door from HelloFresh.
I saw Wallace Shawn die. Wallace Shawn is dead.
It's 2 minutes for roping. I like that. You're a jabroni.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's Wednesday night. It's What the Show. Don't worry, I didn't eat that chicken. How are we doing tonight?
I am so sorry. I was reading William's comment,
which we're gonna put up right now,
and I got distracted by it. So we're gonna read it. Our someone asked me who the inconceivable guy was in Princess Bride. She actually checked and told me he was alive after I called him the late Wallace.
It's canon now.
It's canon in the universe. He is dead. Rest in peace.
It's just the gift that keeps on giving.
It just keeps on giving. I really hope that Juice comes in tonight wearing a hat because all What the Show members are wearing hats tonight. Weird. What the Show in hats.
And we totally are not getting endorsed or sponsored by HelloFresh anytime soon after that. Yeah, so it was nice not being sponsored by you.
I'm not sure it was ever going to happen in the first place, so I'm okay with that. But you can also use our code BUMWINE.
BumJabroni.
BumJabroni for 5% off at bumwine.com. So
it'll save you like 4 cents.
Yeah.
Yes.
Worth it. Worth every penny when you're buying BumWine, okay?
Shipping is still incredibly expensive on it.
Yeah. That is very fair.
Your $3 bottle of bum wine will cost about $17 to ship.
But worth every penny. Have you tried MD 2020 Blue Raspberry? Go ham.
I actually thought about this morning. I feel like at the end of the year, this should become like we've done the villains bracket, the heroes bracket, we do the box office show. I feel like the year-end top 10 should always be the bum wine show from this point forward. Like,
yeah, we just get bum wine.
Every year when we do our top 10, it's the bum wine show.
I like it. Let's make it a thing. We're calling it right now, folks.
All right. So we took last week off. So this is the first week of the new month. The Streamlabs is posted in the chat. For those who don't remember, when we did the Cutthroat Trivia Challenge, we offered both the winner and the MVP the opportunity to choose our charity of the month. And this month, Moose Haas was the MVP. So we're going to be going with his charity of the month. Wonderful, wonderful choice he made, which is the Make-A-Wish Foundation. Who's going to ever argue against making sick kids happy? Of course, we're going to support the Make-A-Wish Foundation. So all donations in the month of July on behalf of Moose Haas are going to go to the Make-A-Wish Foundation.
Yes.
Yeah.
Speaking of Moose Haas, our guest this week, I'm so excited for this one because this is somebody we've all known, we've never had on camera. And this person is married to Benny Hamblin. The amount of stories that we're going to probably have, I can only imagine what everyday life with Benny is like. And she has done this for quite a while. I'm so excited. Let's bring her in.
It's been a journey. It's been a journey.
We had the same idea at the same time.
That's a hat memo, though. We're bringing in Sister Sarah. Sister Sarah looks a little different than I remember her looking. Hi there, Sister Sarah. How are you?
Well, let's bring on Juice.
Yeah, and here's Juice.
Hey, y'all. How are you? Oh, I almost went and tried to find a hat, but my dog runs off with them all the time, so I don't know where they are.
That's fair. That's fair.
As we see backstage, I'm sure we're going to get a cameo from the dogs.
I hope so.
I'm sure he'll come back at some point.
This might be the first time that the four of us have all been wearing a hat at the same time. So I usually don't wear hats.
You usually
don't wear hats.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're doing it. We're wearing hats.
You all just kind of like took my gimmick for the week, and I kind of feel insecure.
You're welcome, AJ.
Gimmick infringement.
Yeah,
Gimmick
it's-
infringement. We're doing
What
it.
am I if not just a guy in a hat?
Well, that is fair. All right, Sister Sarah.
Someone who will learn how to swear from me.
Please let us know where we can find you, what you're up to, because we're gonna get off the rails real quick. So we'll go ahead and let you do your plugs at the top of the show.
Bill, I don't really have any plugs myself. I do a lot of work with Benny and Moose on there. Benny Moose Save America. Moose especially does a lot of other writing too, but I do a lot of the writing. I've taken over the editing from Benny because it was, a stressor for me because he's like, oh, I don't know what I'm going to do yet. And he'll decide it like 2 days beforehand. I'm like, no, I have every show that we filmed already edited. I have to do that. It's,
That's fair.
It's in my genes. You can come back to that one later. I have a funny story for that one to kind of give you that as reference, but no.
You have put up with so much of our bullshit already.
That's fair.
Oh yes,
Funny.
yes, I have more than you guys probably even realize, because some of the times you didn't even realize that I was backstage.
Right.
For most of the recordings, usually I just kind of sit there quietly, and then it's like, no, you guys just don't realize how hard I bite my tongue sometimes. I'm like, during those recordings, I'm usually like 3 feet from Benny, and I'm like, oh, you dumb fox.
Yeah.
But I'm on Twitter, but I don't actually post anything because I'm old and it doesn't make any sense to me. And it's like, oh, okay, that's out there. Cool. I don't give a shit. So I don't post it. I'm on Facebook, but really I'm on there just to see randomness and to share photos of my son with my family every once in a while. And that's really it, because that's what middle-aged white women do.
So I wanted to bring up, because having had, it's going to air soon, but I was recently a bartender on an episode that's going to air shortly.
Oh, nice.
So I actually had, and Juice has done this too. We've had access to see what the document you put through, and holy crap, is so much going on that document. Like, the amount of prep work that you do for this show is out of control.
Yes.
When I saw it the first time, I'm like, oh, wow. Like, going through all of these, and because, as the bartenders, for those who have not watched the show, if you haven't, first off, what is wrong with you? Go ahead and go watch the show on the Last American Hero channel. But as the bartender, we have a document that has in the neighborhood of about 100 questions per match that we have to come up with, potential hints for. So I was going through and diligently, like, beforehand, trying to do, like, oh, do I know what all of these things are? Do I have to do some research? And eventually I was like, I give up. I will do it on the fly. But...
Yep, we have.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, we'll do the 9 questions in round 1 typically, and then we'll do normal matches. We'll have 12 categories in round 2 with 6 questions each, all of them with multiple choice, all of them with bartender hints. Those are usually I'll write a lot of the questions, and then Moose and Ryan will do the multiple choice and bartender hints. Those are harder for me than writing the questions and thinking of the questions. I'm like, I can't. I'm like, I don't know what to do. Kind of a hint for that shit. Hell no. So sometimes my questions get reworded and rewritten a little bit because I'm like, I just made that impossible to do a multiple choice or a bartender hint for. And then I'm like, ooh, I really like this one, but that one's not going to work for multiple choice at all. Oh, I can put that in the 6-packs. And then I'll do that instead.
That's a smart way to go about that.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, I did a couple of, like, rounds of writing questions for Bateman's study group during the Schmodown, and it was like, okay, these questions, I just need to do 10 questions for him for this week as my piece. That's easy. That's 10 minutes tops.
No.
Multiple choice, there's another 20.
When I helped a lot of Finstock matches, mock matches. During that time period too, I wrote, I don't know how many dozens of matches. They got used to the fact that if they had a Sister Sarah match, there was no such thing as multiple choice. you just got fucked. You either knew it or you didn't. Oh, shit. And that's what I would tell them. I'm like, you know it or you don't.
Yeah, from like when I was helping the usual suspects with matches or writing bartenders, it's like it's either it can be something that like you think is easy, and then you ask the question to them, and it is, you know,
Hard
they
as
have no idea, or it can be something you think like is, oh, this is going to be more of a deep cut, and they get it instantly, and you're like,
yep,
I cannot win.
exactly. And Benny and I have very, very different movie tastes. We are 3 weeks apart. We both grew up on dead end gravel roads in between train tracks and rivers. I mean, like 3 states away from each other. You know, because I grew up in Wisconsin. But it's like, you know, small towns next to bigger towns. You know, I mean, it's like the parallels that are growing up that way, very, very similar. But very, very different as well. My husband grew up watching Porky's.
Right.
My mom did not allow me to watch Dirty Dancing until I was 13 years old because it was PG-13.
Wow.
I mean, there's some risque things.
Yeah, no, you know,
They
and
dance.
now, and it's
They dance dirty.
So now it's like you're going back and this and that. She's like, oh, I'm watching Footloose and this and I'm like, what the fuck?
Did she like tell you that this, but also ban dancing in your household?
No. She didn't have anything that banning that way. No, it was just there's a lot of bad shit out there.
Yeah.
And when you're young, you don't need to deal with it.
Yeah,
It's true.
So it was,
absolutely.
I don't want to say I was sheltered, but that's the best way to describe it. You know, I grew up in such a small town. In the last 40 years, it has grown by about 500 people. It is still less than 3,000.
Whoa,
That's crazy.
That is a small town. Yes.
Are you related to everyone in that town?
No, I'm related to everybody in the town next door.
Ah,
Okay, there you go.
My grandma grew up in like one of the little communities next door to it, and then my parents moved into that town by pure coincidence decades later. So, you know, cousins like 5 and 6, you know, whatever things removed. Oh yeah, it's like we're looking at a picture, you know, in the town paper because the town paper covers all of the little communities around you. And she's like, "Oh yeah, those are your cousins." I'm like, "What?" Yeah.
Yeah, I grew up in small town Nebraska. I get it.
Yeah, small town Wisconsin. Yeah.
All you Midwesterners on this stream, we'll just see ourselves out.
Yeah, no, I grew up. It's like if you guys ever watched like Laura Ingalls Wilder, Little House in the Big, you know, on the Prairie and such, Little House in the Big Woods, that book. I grew up an hour and a half north of that.
Nice.
So I grew up north of that. So very, very far north, but still close enough to civilization that, you know.
It's about an hour and a half away from Willa Cather country for me.
From what country?
Willa Cather.
I don't know that one.
She was an author. But no, somebody in my mom's real estate office, somebody from the town is about 45 minutes away from us. Was trying to explain to her mom, to my mom one day, that everybody in the city of, the town of Sutton, Nebraska, there's 3 last names: Noose, Gray, and Green.
Yep.
And she's like, I'm not exaggerating. My maiden name is Gray. My married name is also Gray, but we're not cousins.
Sure, likely story.
So I went to college in Fairfax, Virginia, which actually has a huge Vietnamese population and something very similar, like the last name Nguyen, which is Nguyen, I think is how it's spelled. I had a professor in a lecture hall who decided he wanted to take roll. And when he got to that last name, there was like 20 in this one class alone, all with the same last name, and probably none of them related. It's just it's like Smith the English name Smith, Nguyen in Vietnamese is that way, and you just get there. It's almost becoming a comedy routine because.
Juice, we need the map.
Juice, we need the map.
We need the map.
It is next. It
Right
is.
up
I
the
have
top.
firsthand experience. As of like a month ago, it is Nebraska is next to Colorado.
You're
On
right.
our last trip, we drove through Wisconsin, through Iowa, through Nebraska to Colorado. So yes,
I
So,
am.
They're
I love
next.
anything Colorado.
I am a total
Colorado.
nerd. Both of my parents had teaching degrees. My dad taught for 41 years, 39 years in the same school district.
Wow.
When he retired, he was able to literally tell his students, "I taught your grandpa."
Yeah,
I bet. Yeah.
That's
wild.
fantastic.
So my classmates were his second generation of students. It's like, yeah, I taught your dads and your uncles and coached them. So, but he was a history teacher. Hence the I actually really love the history questions that I get to sneak in. And they usually get vetoed because they're kind of hard.
I think
Or
we've
maybe
gotten ours. We've gotten ours. I think when we've
Had
competed.
okay-ish in our
Maybe.
history questions.
I've had a lot of them vetoed or rewritten. It's like, is this too hard? And Ben usually just kind of looks at me and goes, yes. But we had a United States puzzle map, and it was just the shapes of the states. They didn't interlock.
Mhm.
I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
I would literally put it together with my eyes shut, holding the shapes, and my dad would sit there and say, "What's the capital of the state that you're holding?" And I could list them all off when I was like 7 years old.
Dang.
So
I can't list like
I was a
5
geek.
capitals now.
we had to do the rap of the states. Is anybody familiar with that?
Do it right now.
No.
Montgomery, Alabama, Juneau, Alaska. I don't remember all of them.
He made it through 2
Wait,
states.
wait, what?
You had to go through.
Oh,
That's a
you
rap.
do capitals.
Montgomery,
and-
Alabama.
Yeah.
But you went through all 50 states, and it was the capital and the state, and then
Oh, no.
the chorus was America, America, you mean the world to me, America, America, from sea to shining sea.
That's
and
the
then
propaganda right there.
somebody in the class would yell like, "Here we go," and then on the next one, and something like that. And
So was this like a reach track or?
We did.
it might as well have been.
We did 50 Nifty United
Yeah,
States.
that we did
so we
too.
didn't do the whatever the hell
Yeah.
that was.
The rap of the
I don't know
states?
what we did something, but I don't remember.
Yeah, I just knew them.
50
I have the
was
books of the Bible
50.
down though.
I think everyone probably
used to know those.
Probably did 50 Nifty in school. It'd be like Alabama, Alaska, Arizona, Arkansas, California, Colorado,
Colorado,
Connecticut.
No, we did that.
Florida,
Yeah, you guys are all too young
I
to
remember.
speak for that. We didn't do that crap. You just had to learn them.
If you grew up in the Northeast, we didn't start the fire by Billy Joel in social studies to learn your history. So.
We didn't set the fire by Fall Out Boy, you mean?
Oh, not
Yeah,
that one.
oh God, no.
Oh.
Yeah. If you want to keep me in the conversation with that one, you better start bringing in Dolly Parton and Kenny Rogers and Waylon Jennings
Gambler.
and Johnny Cash.
The Gambler. Now, where on the map is? No, I'm just kidding. Did I even need to go to school? What is all of this? Listen, yeah, I don't know. I blame all the time being a Floridian as to why I'm not good at geography. Okay, 3 of my sides were bordered by water. Only had a little top hat that was Georgia. I don't know. We kind of connect to Alabama a little bit as well.
Well,
they,
Did fail history.
they really, really
You-
did.
True.
Were you 6th or 7th generation Floridian?
6th generation, baby.
Yeah.
Jeez. Yeah, I
And
was
you're
in
not-
Florida once. Did not like it. It was 20-some years ago.
Honestly, a
It's very
fair
hot.
assessment of Florida.
It's very hot.
I was in Florida for 32 years. Didn't know. I'm just kidding. I love Florida.
No,
but
it's-
glad I don't live there anymore. But I do love it. It's my home.
I went in high school. I was also a band geek. So I was one
Yeah.
of them.
What'd you play?
What'd you play?
I played trumpet. And what's really fun is I am completely and utterly tone deaf.
Ooh.
Like completely tone deaf. Can't keep a beat. Yet I was in band for 8 years and march.
There you go.
So the marching part is, that's where the difficulty with the tone deaf. Like, I think that a lot of trumpet, because I played trombone and saxophone, a lot of it's feel, but the marching part of it, that's another thing.
I could usually keep, the rhythm with that because you had the drums in there, but I would never have been able to do drums myself because I would not have been able to keep it. I can follow somebody else when they have it, but I can't keep it myself. No, I'm absolutely horrible.
Yeah, when it comes to rhythm, sometimes I watch Whiplash and I'm crying, and it's not because of the story.
My sister used to try and teach me how to sing. So she would play the piano, and she would try and say, sing this note, and she would play the note, and I would sing it. She's like, no, this note. I'm like, that's what I'm singing. She's like, no, you're not. I'm like, well, it sounds like I am. She's like, no. And she's like, okay, sing one note. It doesn't exist on the keyboard, on the piano. What I sing does not exist. That's how bad so deaf I am.
Created a new note. I like it.
Yes,
it's a talent of its own.
Innovation. Okay.
So I can tune my guitar by ear, but what comes out of my mouth, I have no control over it. So I identify there.
When we'd be like tuning our when they'd have the tuners come through and we'd do this or that or whatever. Yeah, they'd say, "Oh no, you got to do this." I'm like, "Okay, I didn't notice any difference." Or when you'd get the higher notes, I can't tell a damn difference if I'm playing. I can't even tell if I'm playing the same note.
So I also was in the brass, because I played both trombone and saxophone, which one's brass and one's woodwind.
Yeah.
The woodwind, I could tell the difference. The brass, I could not.
Yeah. No,
What is I don't understand what a woodwind instrument is.
Easy way to describe it, with one exception being the flute. Woodwinds are played with a reed. The flute is considered a woodwind.
Why is that considered a woodwind then?
I don't know the specific reason, but the flute is considered a woodwind and does not use a reed. That's the only one I'm aware of.
I'm learning a lot tonight. Colorado borders Nebraska. Yeah. A woodwind.
It works out. It works out for me because I on the guitar, I play a lot of notes, and a lot of the times the notes that I am trying to play, my fingers don't match up to those notes, and it sounds very bad. Yet I'll still, at the end of the song, whatever, everyone will still just be like, "Oh, that was so great." I'm like, "No, it wasn't. I messed up here. I messed up there. I played that wrong note there." And everyone is like, "Oh no, nobody knows, nobody cares." Great job.
I mean, I think it always sounds good. I can't tell. I can't tell these things.
Yeah, but when we had gone down to Florida for band, we marched in the Gator Bowl parade in Jacksonville, and then went down to Orlando and did other things, because we were there for like a week. Well, you go, over the holiday time period. So when we left Wisconsin, we left at like 5:00 in the morning.
And you busted, right?
It was like 30 below zero wind chill.
Oh.
By the time we get down to Florida, it is
80.
They were having a heat wave. It was like 95.
Yep. Oh, wow. That's 120 degree swing.
In 36 hours, I got sick as a fucking dog.
Yeah. So happens every time.
I got so damn sick. And I don't like heat. I hate heat. Heat sucks.
That's all I know.
It sucks. I'm sorry. I will take the 35 degrees below zero. And I always laugh, here in Ohio, everyone always complains about it being cold. I'm like, it's not fucking cold. I wear a jean jacket.
These are my thoughts. Yeah, I don't. I don't believe in negatives. No, thank you. Will not catch me. You'll not catch me in that.
Oh,
I wear a jean jacket at most of the winter. My winter coat, I only pull out if I go up north.
I thought Ohio.
So you're from Wisconsin?
Yep.
Okay. Yeah. What part?
I grew up north of Hudson, right on the Minnesota border. I grew up in Wissota.
Oh, okay. Gotcha. Okay.
Wissota, sometimes
we're on opposite ends. So I'm in Sheboygan, Lake Michigan side.
Yeah. I grew up. I could get from my parents' old driveway to the dorms at the University of Minnesota in an hour and 15 minutes flat.
How far away are you from were you from La Crosse?
La Crosse was still further south. We were if you're off on like
north.
Interstate 94. Yeah, no, I grew up 10 minutes from the Minnesota border. 20 minutes from the Minnesota border. If you're on 94 and you're going all the way up, like 20 minutes before you hit the Minnesota border, you go north 20 minutes. So
And then my last question for Wisconsin talk: did Quick Trips peak?
Oh my God!
During your time there?
Not while I was there. No.
Okay. Because AJ does not believe that Quick Trip's the greatest gas station of all time. He thinks it's a Casey's and a Come and Go. And I'm like, you have not been to a Wisconsin Quick Trip in the last 2 years.
I have seen Quick Trips in like South Carolina. I didn't know they were in Wisconsin.
It
I learned
is-
anything
It's
today.
a different
It's
Quick
a-
Trip.
Completely
they're
different culture too. Yeah, it has to be. So when I go up and visit my parents,
I'm looking.
my mom will literally ask my dad, "Well, have you been to Quick Trip today?" Because he will usually go about 2 or 3 times a day.
A day?
Wow.
Oh yeah.
I appreciate that man's
Abs-
dedication.
He's like, "Oh, do we need mashed potatoes and gravy? I can go to Quick Trip. Oh, we need potato salad? I can go to Quick Trip. Oh, do we need bread? Oh, you don't have anything ready for dinner? I can go get fried chicken. I can go get a pizza. We need milk."
Oh, this is spelled not the way I thought it was spelled.
Yeah, no, it
K.
is.
KWIK.
And then it's also, a gas station, of course, but you need to go and get your drinks. Or, oh, my sisters will call me, "Oh, Quick Trip has bacon on sale this week." I'm like, who gives a shit? But no, it is
like
it is-
everything apparently. Oh wait, that's
Yes,
not.
you go in for everything. But yeah, no, it's the family will stop for everything. And
Are there
Oh, did you
Buc-ee's
go-
up there by y'all yet? Buc-ee's is like sweeping the nation. I can't with everyone's Buc-ee's obsession.
That like the northern part of Florida, like when we're traveling from my parents or her parents who live like a little bit further south, not super far south, but Central Florida area and just a little higher. But you get to Jacksonville and Daytona, and the Buc-ee's signs are
It's all over the
everywhere.
Southeast. It started in Texas, but it's like all over the Southeast now, and everyone is obsessed. And like, it's fine. Like, they're nice, but like,
They're massive.
I don't get the obsession. I think it's just because they're big.
They're like bigger than like a super Walmart.
It's a very
the thing
bizarre.
with Come and Go is it's the cleanest gas station. Like, I don't eat gas station food, but I'll get a burrito or like, I'll grab pizza from Come and Go. It's about Casey's quality for my Midwestern people out there. And like it's like fancy, but it's not expensive. Like I can get like a tub of gelato on the way home kind of thing.
That's my favorite thing about like regional stuff is like everyone has an obsession with the grocery store and gas stations. Like I think it's so funny.
So like I know friends who grew up in upstate New York, and they're all about Wegmans.
Oh my
is
God,
all
I love
upstate
Wegmans.
New York. And then you go to Florida, it's all Publix.
We
And,
worship. We
like,
worship.
I grew up,
Everyone else is wrong. Publix
I've
is the
had my-
best grocery
I've had
store.
my fair share. Yeah, I've spent my fair time in a Publix. When I was very young, I know our obsession was Wawa.
Wawa's was
Being
big
from
they were
the
big in
East
Virginia.
Coast.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They were
Yeah,
big in
Virginia. They were big in
Pennsylvania,
Pennsylvania, where we were
obviously.
from, and Jersey.
so there was, I don't remember. I wish I could even, I don't even remember which gas station it was that I was stopping at. But I was living in Madison for a short time, and I was driving from, this was before I moved out to Ohio here with Benny. But I was driving from Madison back up to see my parents, which was still a 4-hour drive. And because, I'm a female with a tiny bladder, I had to stop and go to the bathroom. So I stopped. In the gas station parking lot is, the Amish wagon.
I was like, yeah.
Yeah, you guys keep freezing. But there's, the lovely Amish wagon there stopping in there to get their cheese curds. And they had 20 different varieties of cheese curds in the gas station.
That's
That's-
fantastic.
That sounds
That's-
Yeah. No,
that
it's like
sounds-
you stop and get cheese curds everywhere. You could get
Wow.
gourmet cheese everywhere.
That's
Yeah.
okay.
yeah.
That's
That sounds
Wisconsin.
delightful.
You're
I
stopping
wonder
to
if
get
those
whatever.
same
No, you're
Amish
gonna
people-
get cheese curds.
wonder if those same Amish people are watching this stream tonight. Let us know in the chat.
There's only 4 people in here. We know Lego and Rob are here, so maybe there's
Lego
two.
Rob.
Lego
Will.
maybe is the secret Amish person. We don't know. We don't
Lego
Could you
know.
Rob.
imagine if
Will.
Lego was a secret Amish?
That is.
Be right
There's
back.
no
Listen,
feasible way.
listen, Lego, I love you. And Kroger does have those sweet strawberry candies for like $1 a bag, but Kroger is trash. Okay, I said it. It's trash. Publix is. I know Publix is expensive, but it is everything.
So I think all of the supermarkets that I grew up by, I grew up in Long Island. I think almost all of the chains have like been bought out and or changed. Like I don't know if anybody knows any of these brands. There was Wallbaum's was one of them. There was ShopRite was one of them. We had what was the other one?
There was a ShopRite when I lived in Maine.
We had
Bing
Quick
was,
John's.
Yeah.
It was a Quick John's.
Cheap John's, not Quick John's. I'm thinking Quick with that. Cheap John's was one of them. What were some of the other ones? ShopRite, Wawa. But like they're all gone now. Like everything when I grew, because
What is like the Midwest grocery store?
Oh, I told you about it. So basically, our version of Publix is Hy-Vee. It's Hy. It's
That's one that
Publix.
Patrick Mahomes does the commercials for.
Yes.
Yes.
That was going bigger up into Minnesota. Hasn't really hit Wisconsin a whole lot yet, I don't think, most areas, but yeah.
Yeah.
Hy-Vee was growing bigger up there.
Interesting.
Oh, so Patrick Mahomes does these ads for Hy-Vee,
Really
and they're like, they are local commercial quality.
Oh,
Jewel.
they're hilariously bad. I thought of the other
Jewel
one.
is the name of your grocery store? That's fascinating.
The other one I had was Pathmark. It just came to me, and I bet it's gone at this point. I mean, this is the '80s we're talking about, so I bet it's gone at this point.
Yeah. There's a lot of shit gone from the 80s. That's just sad.
Right?
I need my phone. I go nuts without my phone now. But at the same time, I so wish I could just get rid of them. And we could go back to that life where it's like you go out, you're just out.
You're just
be
out.
reached.
Mhm.
Deal with it. You don't have to be able to have access to me 24 hours a day.
Schnucks.
So
That's a fun one.
that's funny you mentioned something like that. Like thinking back to the old days so this is going into the 90s, but my buddies and I used to go, we knew of a payphone that was busted that didn't take quarters. So we'd go there and make prank calls. So we would just go to this payphone because if they wanted to like star 69 or something, it wasn't come back to our home or anything. So we're at the busted payphone just making prank calls to
Those are
people.
so dumb. They're so dumb.
Well, it was great before, because I'm old enough as well to have actually dialed a rotary phone.
Mhm.
And, before
Very, very early for me.
Yeah, before you could hit like the star 69 and have, the caller ID and do that, So it was fun growing up for me with your crushes. You could have all your girlfriends over and you never dial your own crush from your phone. You dial your friends' crushes. And then if you wanted to call, to see if they were home, because that's what you did when you were, young. But, it's like, so if you wanted to call your crush, you had to go to your friend's house because you couldn't do it from your own phone. God, no. Because they might find out.
I think I remember doing that in like 7th grade.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I pulled a pretty sweet move. I was one of the first kids in junior high to get a cell phone. I inherited one from an older sibling. But
those existed when you were in junior high? You're
Yeah.
so young.
So
Cell phones definitely were a thing.
They were still the
first-
Zach Morris cell phones when I was in high school. So
the first girl that we kind of both had a little crush on each other kind of thing in junior high. I slipped my phone into her backpack and called it from my home phone when I got home.
Wait, you had a cell phone back then?
I was 13.
Just we're not that decrepit, okay? Cell phones existed when AJ and I were in middle school.
I don't remember cell phones existing when I was in middle school.
I had a cell phone. I went to college.
I'm
in
younger.
2001.
I didn't own one, but they existed. My parents would let me use theirs if they'd drop me off at the mall, and they'd be like, my mom
not
and my
for
dad had
us.
cell phones, so my mom would be like, "Oh,
Not for
use my
us.
cell phone if you need to."
I had a
Use
cell
that
phone
for
in
us.
2001. That's when I got my first one. So I know they existed at that point.
I had the
Like,
same cell phone that they used in Terminator 3.
Okay, that's fair.
No, I remember going to college and doing like placement testing, and people were, and like my peers were like taking out their phones, and I'm like, what the fuck? I felt so completely out of place.
Blackberries probably at that point, or
Oh.
maybe not even.
No,
Maybe not
we're
even.
talking like the old school little small Nokias.
Like the
Yeah,
Nokia.
okay,
Yes.
Those were like barely kind of out those, and it's like, oh my god, this and that. Yeah, no, that was, and I was so, yeah, And then I had one friend when I was going through school that ended up with a cell phone, like a couple years in. But what the hell was the point? It's like you wanted to send a message to each other.
Forever.
That's because you were bad at texting. We were good at it.
That and that took me forever to figure out
the numbers.
T9 predictive text, baby. I could do it right now.
We had
Didn't exist back then.
Yeah, no,
it did when I had my first cell phone.
Well,
you'd have like AOL Instant Messenger and things like that on your computers. Yeah. You would just send a message so that way it's like, hey, when you get back to your room, you got the message, and that was good enough. Or you call each other dorm rooms, on the phones, the actual landline phones that you plug in, because you were all given a number, because you could look up, phone numbers throughout the dorms.
The instant messenger was always fun. The away messages was always the fun.
Oh, yeah.
When you put your away message was always fun.
Oh, yeah.
Juice, did you use AIM, or was that like past its prime by the time?
My brother did. But it was Facebook was a thing by the time that
you were already
like
using that kind of social media.
But I had to my mom didn't let me have a Facebook account, but I secretly created one. And
you little rebel.
I'm actually fairly early onto Facebook. I was one of the first schools that was part of it. So back when it was that you had to have the @whatever.school.edu. I think I got Facebook in 2007 or something, which was pretty early into its growth.
I started in 9, so
I think I was 08 or 09, somewhere in there.
With
that.
Like 2009.
I don't remember what year they completely opened it up. It wasn't that long. They didn't keep the .edu thing for super long.
Probably 05 to 07. Is that when they created, right? 05?
I was for sure in 09 because I created a St. Louis Cardinals fan page. And
nice.
I was there, one of the guys updating as they won the World Series in 2011 as a eighth grade, had 400 followers that were watching all my posts. I was
it's more than
a 13-year-old boy.
Our rule in the Curl household, 16 was a big birthday because not only did you get a car, but that's when you got your cell phone, because it was you would be driving, you would be out on your own. So my sister got my eldest sister got her.
Did it happen again?
Yeah.
It happened again.
So, for me, when, you turn 16 in northern Wisconsin, you get your license, but you can't go out driving by yourself at winter until Dad takes you out to whip some shitties in the parking lots. That way you know how to handle the ice.
Yep.
I wish I had that.
Yeah, you got to go learn how to handle what happens when you hit the ice. It's go find the big parking lot. You got to make sure there's not a light pole in the middle of it, though, because that'll screw you up. You got a big empty parking lot to whip the shitties in.
See, for me, it was 15 years old. You get your learner's permit. You are the designated driver.
Our internet is terrible tonight. Could not be worse tonight. We usually freeze once a stream, but we have frozen 5 times a stream already tonight. Jesus. Yeah. Thanks, Comcast, former employee.
So I did want to bring something up to Sarah, with being the editor of the show. I know that just from the ones we've been on, there have been moments of shows that have been rough. You've had to. What was, of all the episodes that have aired, what was the toughest one to edit?
I think some of the hardest ones to edit were when Ben was actually doing them and he was just starting. It was sometimes the ones that just go completely off the fucking rails.
I'm part of most of those.
Yes.
I don't know if that's something to be proud of.
Like, honestly, for the when you guys did the Kevin Smith match, I was just like, dude, I can't cut any of this because you kind of get to that point where it's like, fuck it, I'm just leaving it. Because
But you had the
like,
outtakes at the end too.
there wasn't a whole lot of dead space in there because you guys were all drunk off your fucking asses, so you never
True.
shut up. So it's like you can't cut some of that out. And then what's really bad though is it's like, okay, what parts of the like in between the rounds when you're taking like potty breaks and things like that, some of the stuff that gets said during those times, I'm like, okay, a lot of these people thinks this is their safe zone right now because they're not airing and we're off the film. But I will put some of that shit in the outtakes now. Because I'm like, I did that randomly one time, and Moose was like, "Oh my god, this is the greatest thing ever!" So now they want me to do it all the time. Well,
That's good to know for the future.
yeah, just be warned. Everything's fair game when we're recording. Deal with it.
Gonna need a look through my contract here.
That shit.
Terms I agree. No, I'm just kidding.
No, but it's like, it's when there's what's hard sometimes is to edit is when you do have a quieter show and there's like dead space. It's like, okay, do I leave the 10 seconds of thinking time or do I kind of like shorten that? Because I'm like, okay,
Right.
talk to people, and it's like, do you edit that out because somebody's thinking hard, but at the same time I'm like, okay, this just sucks, bye. But
I just think out loud.
yeah, no, and it's like there was I'm trying to think of which match it was. We had done it's going to be a match that'll be coming up like in 3 weeks because I'm like, I don't remember what I've edited and what I haven't. We asked basically like a bonus round of questions that didn't get asked during the match, and I have it at the end. That one I chopped up like a whole lot more because it's just bonus material. You don't need the extra fluff and crap in there.
Right.
But for the most part, if you guys are just being yourselves and doing that, I'm just going to let the shit fly. I don't care.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people that watch, like, they enjoy playing along, so it gives them time to think for the answers themselves while they're.
And but sometimes those potty break moments, I'll get the, oh my god, Sarah, you got to edit this in. Sarah, make sure you keep this in, and I get those little things in the middle. And there was one time they're like, one of the guys started singing because they were so drunk on the mid times. I'm like, oh man. And I'll save some of that, and then something will happen, and I'll lose it. I'm like, oh shit, I'm not going back in there. I'm not going to try and add this, 3-hour thing to find 30 seconds on there. But when I can try and save them, I do. But yeah, no, or I'll get please make sure you edit this part out. And I'm like,
I love it when that happens and it stays in. Like when I'm watching one of the episodes and someone says that, I'm like, yes, it stayed in. That's awesome.
Well, it's like I think one of the references that you guys had made during the Kevin Smith match, I'm like, oh, that was probably a dirty joke or a really inappropriate reference that completely went over my head. But I don't give a flying rat's ass.
I think it was the joke about Chris Jericho's wife.
Yeah, and I'm like, I had no idea. I'm like, I didn't know that was maybe something that should be edited out. I'm like, okay, I shouldn't have kept that in there. I don't know. I don't care.
I have a hard time rewatching anything that I'm on. So that's one of the few things that I watched the entire thing and was just like, oh god, what's here? What is it?
No, my favorite part of that,
and everything was there.
Yes, it was.
Absolutely, though. Moose fucked up the scoring on that.
That's because I wasn't there to help with the scoring.
Yeah, that tracks.
And you should not try and keep score when you're drunk.
Because I remember like I'm trying to keep track of it in my head. Like I wasn't writing down or something. Like there is no way that I'm that far behind AJ. I'm like, no, I was way ahead of him. Oh shit,
Yeah, no, it's like, but there have been a few times I'm like, no, scoring was off by like a point here or a point there when they're saying it, but it's right. I'll have it right there. I'm like, okay, this will be the right one. And as long as the actual outcome isn't affected,
the winner.
Who cares?
Yeah.
Exactly.
I'm sorry, but who cares?
Oh,
It'll
man.
happen.
You're a
Sure,
point
I'm
there.
sure.
I'm gonna make it.
during the drinkathon or whatever, I wasn't doing it because like I didn't want it to be a consecutive like 60-second stop break, like immediately resume the 60 seconds. So I would like stop it, give us like 10 seconds to drink and then resume the clock.
Yeah.
But sometimes I'd forget and like I'd be in my own world and it'd be like 2 minutes would pass and I'm like, oh crap, got it. Drink. Whatever, jabroni. I don't remember what I had to yell out, but Snoogans.
Yep.
I was upstairs, but I had the door open for a little bit when that episode was being recorded. And I could just, for the first like hour, I heard that so much that I shut the door because I was like, I can't take it anymore.
Yeah. Moose, if you
like,
and
yep,
Ryan
like,
were
that's-
both drinking, that doesn't matter. That doesn't matter. You were both drinking. And the deacons are frozen again. And to give you guys another insight into myself and how much of a total geek I was, I'm now a college dropout because lots of other crap. But at one point in my life, I was a chemical engineering mathematics double major. So, yeah. Daughter of a history teacher, and my mom has a degree in biology. And yeah, so I'm a little bit of a geek. And I kind of like math. Math is fun for me. I used to, like my freshman year of college, Fridays, I was done with classes by noon. I had the entire Friday afternoons done. But all my friends were in class. So when I was bored, I would literally do extra calculus homework for fun. Because I was a geek. So,
Damn.
Math is fun.
Yeah.
Math is fun. Spreadsheets are fun. Lists are fun.
I mean, I'm
I like
I'm with
spreadsheets
you to
unless
a
I don't like
point.
math.
I'm with you to a point as well. I think if I
'Cause-
had like the right math teacher that could have like been like, like locked into my brain and been like, okay, let's like figure out your strengths and weaknesses and like tweak this and that. Cause like all my uncles are chemical engineers. So like they're all geniuses. But yet I like statistics being a baseball fan.
Yeah,
Can do
stats I can get into.
certain maths I'm very good at, and
Yeah.
others I'm not. Like geometry, I'm good at. Algebra, I was like, what are you talking about?
So my high school math teacher, small towns again. So I had him for 3 years, but I had known him my entire life because when I was like 3 and 4 years old, I used to take naps in his room because his wife was my daycare.
Oh,
So, I get to high school, I'm like, oh yeah, no, I used to sleep on your bed. That's not weird or creepy. So,
with context.
Yeah, with context, not. If you just say that, weird.
yes. And so here's a lovely small town story for you to let you know what kind of a small town I grew up in and how long ago this was. So in the 90s, I was in high school, but so just kind of error there. But I had to take one last gym class my senior year. The only one that would fit in my schedule. It was a hunting and survival skills because they had just changed things up. So we were, the school owned their own BB guns and bows that we could use. So we learned how to use BB guns into, the targets. And then, we'd shoot the bow and arrow at the big targets that they would set up. So we shot towards the school for that. But the big part was when we shot clay pigeons. And so we had to bring in our hunting rifles, but we had to either leave them locked in our cars or we could bring them into the office. And we had to provide our own ammunition. And we got clearance from the police department because we would go to the cornfield in the back of the school because it was technically outside of school property. So the only time I have ever fired a gun was for a grade on school property.
Nice.
There you go. That's the 90s for you,
sounds-
right there.
So this was definitely before Columbine and everything else like that. But yeah,
This is a pre-Columbine world
Yeah.
right there.
Right.
so it's like we either had to keep our rifles locked up in our car or bring them into the office. We couldn't keep them in our lockers. That was the,
There's rules.
Whatever.
You know, this is
that was the rule. We couldn't keep them in our lockers. And then we would go out when we were doing bow. We would do, they'd bring us out to a different range there, and we'd literally walk around the shooting range with, it's like, oh, you could bring your compound bow and arrow and this and that, or, use the ones that the school provided. And we just walked around the middle of the woods shooting bows and arrows.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
Can you imagine, like in today's world, if that
That's
happened?
not
Like, that would
happening.
never happen. Well, maybe in Florida, but anywhere else in the world, anywhere else in the country.
We don't know
it
what
would
happened to Donda Academy.
So that's fun. But yeah, no, I grew up in a very small town.
That's what we
Where-
call
No, that was-
PT, and by that I mean pre-Columbine. Like,
no,
there
that
are certain
was-
things you're like, wow, that was a pre-9/11 world. That story that's a pre-Columbine world, clearly.
Yes.
That's wild.
And definitely, pre-9/11. And see, that's something I was like, I sat and had a conversation with my dad the other week, a couple weeks ago, because it's like, for me, I'm like, 9/11 feels like it was in some ways yesterday. It's like, it's over 20 years ago. People born after 9/11 are
And
legal
drink.
drinking age.
Can
Yeah.
legally drink.
And that
Yeah.
just, I'm like, how the fuck did that happen?
Yeah.
And then I was sitting with my dad, I'm like, trying to compare that, for me growing up in the 80s when I would have been, younger. And it's like, what would that event have been? And I was asking him, he's like, when the astronauts went around the moon. Not even landed on the moon, but when they went around the moon. And he
Mhm.
remembers some of those different things. Because it's like the world before we went to the moon.
Right.
And it's like, for
Right.
us, like we think about that now, it's like, that's so long ago. Of course, that's history. And it was, taught. And it's like, 9/11's taught in the history books. That's not current events now.
Well, if it's Fallout Boy, it's the last thing chronologically.
Well, I was about to say though, this just came to my head, but this is 100% true. I don't know why in their right mind this would be a thing, but 9/11 babies like last month started drinking.
Like 9/11 of 2000, like 9/11 just
Because-
started
but
Like
drinking.
they
babies
were
conceived on 9/11.
If
Oh
they
my
were
god, that's
conceived.
fucking dark.
What babies were good? I mean, I guess
Like,
if it was a certain time
literally-
of day.
This is like right around
No.
when they would.
What a weird thing to think of. What
Well,
what-
no, you're actually fairly right, because my sister found out she was pregnant
on 9/11.
shortly. No, like she found
Oh,
out she was pregnant a couple of weeks after that, but she
Hmm.
would have conceived shortly before that.
Right.
And her
I
son
think-
just turned 21 in May.
Yeah.
I think Jacob Whitnaben's younger brother is a 9/11 baby.
Like what? But why?
Well, no, I think he was
Okay, so-
born.
It's the opposite of like the celebration. It's like when a team wins the World Series or the Super Bowl and things like that.
So many babies.
People- yeah, you get a big 9 months after. After when there's a big tragedy, what do? You turn to your loved ones for comfort and support.
I was
You
gonna
know,
say
it's-
drink and fuck, but yeah.
Oh no, he was.
Yeah.
He was born the month of 9/11, but he was born like
All right, he was
7
born
days. He was
But if they
born
were-
like 7 days
conceived.
before 9/11. He was born September 5th, 2001.
So if they were conceived around 9/11, they are just turning 21, like very
Within these
recently.
next couple of months. Yep.
Yeah, he was 21.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This
Yeah, the last
strange.
time he was at my house, he's like, "What bourbon do you have?" I'm like, "You're a child." He's like, "I'm 21." I'm like, "Oh, okay." All right.
Things I
Here's-
never thought we'd
here's my
talk about
bourbon.
on the show. Babies that were conceived on 9/11. But here we are, folks. Here we are.
You know,
We're doing
there's-
it.
Who the fuck knows is what's going to come up with me? You never know.
You know what I think of? Well, because I know someone whose birthday is 9/11, but obviously way after. He's like 3, so way after like the
Yeah.
9/11. It's how many people our age are like, oh, like that's a bit like my friend was so worried that her babies, which he did end up having that birthday. And so we were trying to think of like, these are good things that happened on that day to like make her feel better about it. But it's like, those kids aren't going to care about it. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's not going to bother them, but it like bothers us.
If
We're
you
like,
were
oh, it's a
alive during
tainted
it,
day.
yeah.
Like, you'd want like a happy thing
No,
to happen
it's-
on that day now, you know?
My
Like,
son
people get married on 9/11 now, you know? Like,
Yeah. It's
which why not? But still, it's just like weird to me for some reason.
for a different generation. That would be December 7th.
Yeah.
Right.
Which again, like most of people
Right.
our age don't even think about it. But I mean, you know, it's the day that lives in infamy. But yeah, I'm sure people get married on
Yeah.
December 7th. People probably don't think about it.
It's
But yeah,
you know,
that's going to be people with 9/11. But to our generation, will be like, no, it's 9/11. But to most kids growing up, I'd be like, oh, that thing I read in my history book. Yeah, whatever.
I actually have a crazy 9/11 story. You know this one.
I do.
But this is wild. Now, a good friend of mine was a recording artist, and her album came out on 9/11, and she literally had a fan reach out to her a couple of months or weeks or years after. I don't know exactly the time frame, but he said he worked at the World Trade Center, left on his break to go buy her album, and was spared from
oh my god.
being there
goodness.
because he went to the record store.
Music saves lives, is what
Yeah.
we're saying here tonight.
Like that's one of those things. Like wow, like her album tanked because it came out that day. But
Yeah.
that one story, she's like, that one story right there was, the smallest redeeming factor you could ever ask for. But
the other day, she was like, "I saved a life,"
She-
and I was like, "You did,
Yeah,
though,"
like,
and
literally,
inadvertently,
she did.
like in
Yeah.
a weird, crazy roundabout
So-
way. Yes, you did save a life.
September 11 falls on a Wednesday next year in 2024.
Oh God, no!
So if we are
We'll be streaming on it.
if we
for
are
the
still
other-
a Wednesday night show at that point, then we will
we'll be
have
streaming
our
on
own
9/11.
honorarium,
Everyone.
and you'll probably rehear that story.
Hypothetically,
But
that'll be our fantasy football draft.
We're going to be drafting fans. Speaking of how time moves on and people don't care about tragedies after a while, we'll be drafting.
We'll be
fantasy
talking about
football
fantasy football.
on what was a very weird, you know what was a really weird, scary thing? Being an elementary school child in Florida on that day, since the president was reading at an elementary school in Florida, and you're like, well,
So here
we go. But clearly, we're fine.
Don't think I've told this on air before, but this was something because I was in New York at the time. I was in college. My parents lived in DC.
We're going down the whole.
Yeah.
Everyone, tell your where were you on 9/11
But
story. We're doing
There's a
it.
specific reason I'm telling
Streamlabs.com/with the show.
a specific reason I'm telling this is
Oh my god.
all of our communications went through the World Trade Center. So we lost our internet, we lost our phones, we lost everything. The phones
Great
came
show, though.
back, and I don't know how I did it. Like my mother had left me a voicemail to like check in on me, and I somehow hit a thing that had it so it came in on like slow motion. So I'm checking my voicemail and I'm hearing, "Hello, Michael. I'm calling to check in on you." And my dad actually worked at the Pentagon at this point. So like I had communicated with them, but I'm getting this after the fact. So the World Trade Center has just been hit.
You're not doing it right. It would have sounded like a robot, but with a Long Island accent. Okay, so it's like.
So
The
I'm
Right.
thickest
like,
Long Island accents of
Like-
your parents.
if that had happened, like if I had been able to check my voicemail immediately, I would have been freaked the fuck out. Like, thank God I got that a
Thankfully,
couple of days
he knew
later.
everyone was okay. Juice, where were you on 9/11? We're doing
Juice
it.
was young.
I was a
You
small
were
child,
baby.
however, I remember it.
How old
However,
were you? Seriously, on 9/11, how old were you?
I have to do the math. Okay. Anyways, so I did just see this in like. So my mic is covering the right half of the screen, so all I saw was Lego saying, "Okay, I started watching Ted Lasso," and I thought the second half was gonna be during 9/11, and then
That'd be impressive.
here's the dot.
Oh, should I be
Um,
about this? I don't know.
I have a memory,
It's
however,
conversation.
it doesn't make any sense. I have a memory being in kindergarten where, like,
Were you in
everything-
kindergarten?
That adds up.
That sounds right.
Yeah.
Right?
You might have been first or
I have a
second
memory
grade.
being in kindergarten and we all were gathered to the TV being like, you need to watch what's happening right now. We all sat in front of the TV and watched like the news.
But like, as a
however,
five-year-old, what
story.
did you understand of this? Do you know what I mean? Like, do you even know what the World Trade Center was when you were 5?
However, I think it happened the year before, and we were just doing it like on 9/11 a year later.
That's borderline worse.
So you're
That's worse.
Well, no, they weren't like pretending like we were being bombed. They were just like, let's watch this video of what happened last year.
Yeah.
okay. Wait, so you were in kindergarten, but you weren't in kindergarten. You weren't in school yet. Do the math. I need to know how old you were when this happened.
All right, go to somebody else. I'll think about it.
Okay. All right, AJ, where were you on 9/11? I don't know why this is happening, but we're doing it.
Why is this happening? I was in the 5th grade. My teacher, Mrs. Rezak's mom had a flight that was not one of the New York flights, but she was flying out of New York that morning. So she was distraught.
How could you
Yeah,
not
I
be?
bet.
They didn't tell
I mean,
anybody
I
in
feel
the
like
elementary
The
school.
entire world was distraught, but particularly if you felt like you had,
Yeah.
skin in the game, so to speak.
But,
All
yeah,
right,
they didn't-
Sarah, where
didn't
were you
tell
on
us.
9/11? We're doing it.
I was in college as well. I had mentioned, I was a college dropout, but one of the reasons I was a college dropout was I had depression and anxiety and stuff like that. And it got hit really, really bad. Whoa. My screen went black for a second. My computer was timing out because it's like, oh, hey, you haven't touched it in a little while. But so if I remember correct, 9/11 was a Tuesday.
Tuesday. It was Tuesday, yeah, definitely.
Yep.
For me, it
Because
was
on
only-
Monday, I was calling our mental health to set up an appointment to see a counselor about my depression.
Wow.
So they're like, oh, no, you have to come in. You can't make the appointment in person. So I wake up, call the friend. They're like, let me know what's happening. I freak out because my brother's in the Navy. And I'm like, oh my God. So I'm like freaking out on this and that. But I'm like, I have to go in and make an appointment. So I am quite literally in the mental health office at my college campus, saying, hey. And they're like, do you need to talk to somebody right now? Are you suicidal? I'm like, no, I'm depressed and I need to make an appointment and you wouldn't let me make it over the phone. So I spent 9/11 trying to schedule a, psych appointment.
Damn.
And then trying to go to my chemistry lab to find out that, oh no, they're canceled classes the rest of the day. But yeah. And then my brother was in the Navy Reserves. He was in for 22 years. But he was the only one from his unit that was activated initially. First one activated because he'd been over there during the Gulf War earlier in the night as well. So he went over. We got the call on basically right before Halloween in 2001 that he was going overseas and he spent Christmas over there. And I couldn't handle school at that point, so I went home and I was living with my parents at that point. And then I went back again for spring semester, but I couldn't do fall semester. But my mom and I made cookies to send to my brother for Christmas.
There you go.
So, and we got, one of the vacuum sealers and we did one box of cookies and we sent it over. And he's like, oh, this is awesome, Mom, thanks. And then the second box arrived and he went, Mom, what'd you do? And then the third box arrived.
Oh.
We made cookies, like 2 or 3 types of cookies a day for like 2 or 3 weeks straight.
Oh my goodness,
That was like one of the
Comcast.
worst time
So
memories.
I would make the dough in the morning or in the afternoon, mix it all up, and then we'd bake it at night and then put them on trays or plates, vacuum seal them to ship out. And then we'd fill them with nuts and mints and everything else like that. We basically made enough cookies for his entire freaking base.
That's one of the sweetest things I've ever
Aw,
heard.
That's
that's
awesome.
a heartwarming moment.
That's
I love
awesome.
that.
So here's another fun part with this. So my brother was also he was part of the Masonic Lodge, and he was a Shriner, and so he was a clown. He would normally do parades. So his clown name was Spiffy the Clown. So he decided that while he was overseas, he needed a lighter weight clown costume so that he could go through and deliver meals with the chaplain. So on Christmas Eve, he dressed up as a clown with the chaplain to deliver cookies and meals to all the people on duty.
That's so nice. Oh, you know
I
what?
love stories like that.
This started really depressing, but it ended really heartwarming, and that
So,
makes me
my
feel slightly
brother is a
better about
circus
this
clown.
topic.
My brother's a circus clown, and so yeah, no, I have all kinds of fun stories that way. But yeah, yeah. So fun. Different
By the
stories
way,
that way.
guys, we did get a Streamlabs donation. I didn't want to interrupt
Oh,
anybody, but Mark Haas
finally.
donated $10, saying cheers to Sarah. She's the best. The whole Hamblin household are the greatest, and I can't agree more.
No, at some point in line, if the Schmodown would have continued and Ben would have ended up, on one of those live events or whatever, we were gonna go all fucking out. He would have ordered a nun costume for me. And our son was gonna be like the altar boy, and he was gonna have a costume as well. If you guys ever get to meet our son,
What an honor it would be, honestly.
Do we need to have him on as a guest?
it will be meeting Ben when he's younger.
Oh wow!
So there was a time where I remember Benny being like, "Hey, we drive through Wisconsin all the time.
Oh, hell yeah.
We might stop by you." And I'm like, "Yes, absolutely. It's never happened. Please, anytime."
How far are you? I'm trying to remember. Sheboygan from Beloit,
Beloit where?
Wisconsin. It's right on the border. It's the town in Wisconsin that sounds like a fart in a bathtub.
There's also one in Kansas.
I mean, say Beloit fast enough, it sounds like a fart in a bathtub.
Let me do some Google Maps.
Yeah, because
But-
we go through Beloit all the time. That's usually where I come through. And unfortunately, I'm going up there a whole hell of a lot right now. My mom has cancer, so I'm traveling up there a lot. So here's the funny story that I was going to share before. It's a depressing funny, but it's funny. So I get my need for lists and everything like that from my mom. It's like if there's something to do, you put it on a list and you check it off. My mom has her checklist of things that she needs to get done before everything else. And so the other day, she decided that she did not want to have the church ladies have to deal with after the funeral. So she decided she was just going to order pizza for after her funeral.
Aww.
So she's calling the pizzeria in town to get price quotes. Oh yeah, no, it's one of my dad's former students. And it's like, oh yeah, I was like, it's like, well, she didn't say what it was for at first. They're like, so it's going to be for, what date? And she's like, oh, I don't know yet. I'm not dead yet. They're like, wait, what? So she's planning her funeral and the pastas and pieces that she wants to have ordered because she doesn't want to have anyone stress and worry about it.
There's the most
This is the
Wisconsin
stuff
thing
on her
ever.
checklist. So this is why things have to be done. I'm like, I have to make the checklist and do things like that because it runs in my blood so strongly. My mom even does that.
Your mom just probably made our heroes list.
Because she's one of the
Whole
people,
thing.
the church ladies that normally helps after funerals. And so when she's gone, they would be short-staffed, and she doesn't want to have them stress and worry about it. So she
That's
wants to
hard.
Weirdest thing-
It's so
That's
much
like the
easier.
weirdest thing I've ever heard.
Your family's like the nicest. I love it.
So yeah, she just wants to order pizza because it'll be easier for everybody.
You know what? I respect that. I'd like to go out that way too. No fuss, no pomp and circumstance. Everyone,
Make sure everyone has pizza. I love it. I
make
love
sure
it.
everyone has
It's just-
pizza.
And it's just, it's just one of those things that's like, are you kidding me? And she's just telling the story. And my niece is a nurse and is there all the time helping take care of her, and things like that. And she's like, just in the background, laughing hysterically because she's on the phone trying to plan this meal and menu with the pizzeria. And they start asking these other questions. And she's like, oh my God, how are you answering this question? Why are you doing this,
yeah.
Grandma? It's okay. We can handle some things. It's like, oh, did you find your grandpa's shoes? Have you polished those yet for him? He'll need those polished soon. The random crap that she just spouts off. It's like, stop.
That is my grandma to a T.
You know, but it's just she worries, and she won't go until all of her checklists are done.
Aww, I love her.
Yes. No,
Sounds
it's
amazing.
so my necessities to have things done and doing the checklists and everything else that way. Yeah, that comes from her.
That's beautiful.
Yes. Yeah. No, but
So it's about 2 hours away.
2 hours.
Oostburg to Beloit. Yeah.
What
But-
other towns is it by?
Sheboygan's the big one.
Yeah, I don't know Southwest Ohio or Southwest Wisconsin. I'm sorry. Is it closer to
Southeast?
Milwaukee or Milwaukee?
Yeah, 30, 45 minutes north of Milwaukee.
North of that? Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we come up through Beloit and go up through Madison and straight up 90 and 94 there. Yeah. At some point, we can just do a different trip and hit differently and go up towards Milwaukee.
No,
I'm
yeah.
up in
I've just
Minnesota. Who wants to
Benny
come
said that
visit
at one
me?
point.
Where in Minnesota?
I just you don't have to connect that to one of your trips, please trust me.
Oh no. We go up and visit other family too for other times too.
Sure.
But, you
sure,
know.
Sure.
Oh hell yeah, no, we've done that, and because we have friends that are in Indiana, and we'd say, oh yeah, we'll take an hour detour on one of our ways home, and just meet for dinner somewhere. Yeah, we do. We've done that. Yeah. What were you saying about Minnesota?
Sunday, August 13th. Who wants to meet me in Minnesota? What's the drive? What's the drive like for everyone? We're gonna do a meetup in Minnesota,
Well, it's a 13-hour
could do
drive
it.
here in Minnesota.
Minneapolis.
I could.
What are you going up in Minneapolis for?
An Ed Sheeran concert.
Okay.
Could I have seen him in the state I live in? Yes. But I'm determined to see all 50 states by the time I'm 50 years old. And I figured, why not check off Minnesota?
While you were there, if you have enough time, you have to go to the Como Conservatory in St. Paul.
Conservatory in St. Paul. I'm writing this down, honestly.
Yeah.
I'm looking,
And
I'm
if you
looking
go,
for recommendations.
you can walk into the Sunken Gardens at Como Conservatory, and you can see where Ben and I were married.
Oh,
I'm doing this. Okay.
yes.
What
Take
time
pictures.
would you
Now
get
I'm
there?
jealous of the trip.
What time would you get there?
Now, so I'm going to say the rest of it's the Como Zoo and Conservatory. So I was technically married in a zoo.
Ooh. Yes.
That's fantastic.
Weren't we all?
In St. Paul.
Two of my
Okay.
favorite people just got cooler than I thought they were.
Wow. I am 1,000% going. Juice, you want to meet us up at the conservatory?
What
it's so
time? Like,
beautiful.
when are you there? Like on Sunday?
I'm there Friday through Sunday, but Sunday's probably the day that I'll have like open, like morning and afternoon, and then I fly out like Sunday evening.
Okay.
But yeah, no, the
Perfect.
conservatory is absolutely gorgeous.
I might
It's like $1
have
donation.
someone to bring with me to
A special guest.
a special guest
Is this keep me in the
bring
dark.
with
I like
me
this. I like a
to
surprise.
Minnesota for fun. We'll see what happens.
I'm into this. We're doing it. We are doing it. We're doing it.
On a Sunday? Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, no, Benny proposed to me at the Como Conservatory, and we were married there.
Oh,
I'm going. We're making time. Like we're making this happen.
We are usually not a sentimental podcast.
I don't know. Have you met AJ? He cries easily.
AJ cries. I'm sentimental on the
Like
inside.
50, 75%.
When we talk about
of the
Quick Trip.
podcast.
Yeah. Oh, we could totally talk about my father's obsession with Quick Trip because the vanilla ice cream will be on sale and he'll need to go make more milkshakes.
Wait, can I go to a Quick Trip in Minnesota? Will there be one?
There are usually some in Minnesota, I think, too.
Are there any in like the Minneapolis area? Does anyone know?
There'll be
Google.
all you have to go is 20 minutes to the border to Hudson, and there'll be 7 of them.
Wait, there's a border? I can hit off another state? How far is the border? Wait, what state?
Minneapolis to Hudson is like half an hour. You can
What
be
is
in
that? Where-
Wisconsin.
what state is- Wisconsin's a half an hour away. I gotta go.
Yeah.
I could
depending
hit
on
off
where you're
another
going.
state.
Yeah, no, you can be, depending on how much time you have and where you're driving. Yeah, you can be in Wisconsin in half an hour.
I'm gonna go to this quick trip in Hudson, Wisconsin. It's happening now. Oh yeah, there it is. I just Googled it.
Yeah, and if you're needing a drink on Sunday in Minnesota, you can't buy alcohol, so you have to go across the border into Wisconsin anyway. And so that's what you do in Hudson.
Fascinating. I'm learning that. Oh, I see. There's like a whole food display here in the old quick trip. Ooh, what's this drink? I'm intrigued. There's things.
Yep.
So
Donuts.
I've got something good. I've been laughing at this all week. He's like a Wisconsin comedian. I think it'd be a perfect ending. It involves Quick Trip.
Oh, that's
I'd laugh at it.
I'd laugh at it. Well,
Are we not doing hard close? Okay.
Are we not doing what?
We're not doing hard close. We're gonna do something.
No.
So are you going to show us this clip, or are you just going to tell us a joke?
And then we'll close. So if there's anything else to be said before we close.
No, I feel good. I want to know this joke.
We're actually not hard closing tonight. This is different. I like it.
Soft close.
All right.
It's
Soft
different.
close. Soft close tonight.
This is our favorite Wisconsin comedian.
Oh, I don't know. We had a favorite Wisconsin comedian, but I'm ready to be amazed.
It's not Matt Rife, is it?
Get some glaze.
No, I don't think he's from Wisconsin.
Spot.
Can you
Someone
hear
else
it?
Can fill their gas.
Yeah.
I'm
Super
a
loud.
decent human being. Oh boy, I could really use some jerky. I'll just be a minute. So he says to me, "I can smell the storm coming." And I says, "No, I got a good sniffer too, and I'm not smelling the storm." Anyways, long story short, that's how he ruined the convertible, or I guess I did. Oh, there's the line. I gotta go. Oh shoot, I gotta pay for this. Forgot to fill my tank. Hey, can you keep it down? I'm trying to watch Cheddar News. Oh, the line is Cheddar News. All right, finished pumping gas. Now I just gotta go get some Glazers. But first, moving this car
Watch
to a
it
parking
twice,
spot
just
so someone
for
else
fun.
can fill their gas. Because I am a decent human being. Oh boy, I could really use some jerky. I'll just be a minute. So he says to me, "I can smell the storm coming." And I says, "No, I got a good sniffer too, and I'm not smelling the storm." Anyways, long story short, that's how he ruined the convertible, or I guess I did. Oh, there's the line. I gotta go. Oh shoot, I gotta pay for this. Forgot to fill my tank.
Seems like what I imagine.
Hey, can you keep it down? I'm trying to watch Cheddar News. Oh, the line is Cheddar News. All right.
There's another thing called Cheddar News. I love Wisconsin.
All right, before we do the hard close, there's one thing I had to ask. I have to ask this. Sarah, you and Benny have Twitter handles that amuse me to no end. Crush the plums and assemble the plums. Where the fuck did that come from?
Ben's brain. So when he likes to make up like email addresses that mean absolutely nothing, because then no one else is going to have them because it doesn't have any meaning. And when we were friends and dating and everything else like that, his email was Crush the Plums. And it's like, well, I did have it as like Mrs. Lomas or something like that, or Lomas Poseidon or something like that. I'm like, I'll just rechange it after, the Schmodown sense. I'm like, well, it's still basically just for you so that I'm following things with you. So I'm like, yeah, we'll assemble the plums then or something like that.
Nice.
It's just Ben's brain. You guys have no, we never even dived into that, but
we've seen a small sample size, and it's just insane.
Ben's brain, like the random shit that he puts under like the fun facts. That's all Ben. That is all shit that he comes up with and has for as long as I've known him.
I look like Kirby Puckett, apparently.
Well, yeah. And what's great is Kirby Puckett was my favorite Twins player when I was younger. I was always mad when we'd go to see the Twins if he wasn't playing. But, back in the old Metrodome and stuff like that, because that's what you did in the 80s when it was too hot because you didn't have air conditioning. You'd go and watch
Metrodome.
Yeah. But yeah, I'm old. But some of his random shit, he's put that type of stuff on his Facebook page for a decade.
It's insane.
It's just, he invented Thanksgiving, and the first, Thanksgiving was a fight over, whether or not the turkey was going to be, which turkey leg was going to be used for the, football game at halftime.
Obviously, that was the first
Thanksgiving was invented by him.
100%. Also,
That's,
the
you know,
day he
just-
saw Wallace Shawn die.
Exactly. He was there. And,
Yeah. That's the thing too. It's not so much that the stuff is long stewing all the time. It's what he does on the fly.
Oh, it's just, there. And he got bored at work one time and decided that he was going to convince all of his coworkers that polar bears don't actually exist. They're actually black bears that are bleached blonde.
I respect it, honestly.
So I'm going to say this before we close tonight.
Find me video evidence of a polar bear being born and show me that they come out blonde. You can't find it. He had his coworkers searching for months to try and find this, to try and prove him wrong. No, that's just Ben.
So the night he pulled the Wallace Shawn bit on us, he tried to do it with Bob Uecker at first, and all of us were like, Bob Euchre's still alive. Like, we didn't realize what was going on.
The sunken garden is so pretty. Sorry, I'm looking at it now.
He tried to
we
pull
were
it
married
with Bob Uecker, and
right
we
after
debunked him.
Yeah. Sorry, go ahead, Mike.
Yeah, I was gonna say we debunked the Bob Uecker thing, and then he said the Wallace Shawn thing, and all of us we're just rolling with this.
Yeah, and some of the shit that he was putting out there that night was, factual, true stuff, and that's how he gets you. Is you don't know what's complete and utter bullshit and what's true.
That's
more obscure truths
and
in
tell the
one.
different. My sister was listening to that one, and she's like, "Oh, and then he was going off about this stuff, and I thought that was the greatest thing in the world." I'm like, "No, Amy, that's true." She's like, "What?"
That is still,
to
this day, my favorite episode we've done.
I was sitting 3 feet away from him while he was recording with you guys.
I don't think I have laughed that hard for 2 hours in any movie I've ever seen or anything. So that is my favorite What the Show episode was the first Brother Lomas episode.
Yeah. And that's just Ben using a voice.
Yeah.
Brother Lomas is just my husband in a different voice.
Well, so anyone still watching, you're getting behind the scenes stuff. Yeah. Right after he went off the air, he's like, I don't know how much I could have kept that up. So
just 90 minutes in character.
Voice is exhausting, but that's just pure Ben. That's just what I married. The Sunken Gardens, as you're looking at those, Bethany, we were married in May when they had about 2 weeks after they planted all of the lilies. So everything was wide open. Yep.
Oh
and then
Christmas, it's like a gorgeous place to have a wedding. I also love that. Yeah, it's literally just like donations, like make a $1 donation. If not, just come visit us. And I was like, what a blessed place.
Yep. And that's for the zoo or the conservatory. Yep.
That is great. That's awesome.
That's fantastic.
What a great place, honestly.
Yep. It's
no, it looks so pretty. I'm like so jealous. I really thought our wedding venue was nice, but this is way nicer. I'm just kidding. I loved our wedding venue, obviously.
Hey, if Sarah and Benny had a nicer wedding venue than us, I'm all for it.
Yeah. That's true. Our wedding was it was great. We had a great time.
We had a very, very small wedding. It was our immediate family and like 4 or 5 friends that weren't already part of our wedding party. So it was a very small wedding. And then we did our reception the next day at the VFW in our jeans.
I respect that, honestly.
Yep.
That's how you do it.
Yep. We took out the grill and grilled and did hot dogs and cheesecake and potato salad in our jeans. Hell yes.
That's how you do it. Oh yeah.
That's amazing.
Yep.
Sarah, you have been absolutely fantastic.
I'm gonna go watch Cheddar News, y'all.
So we're gonna head out for the night, but y'all, in the words of Justin the Juice,
I saw Wallace Shawn die. Wallace Shawn is dead.
It's 2 minutes for roping. I like that. You're a jabroni.